You're listening to Rebel Spirituality with me, Sam Goldfinch. Here's the truth. Wisdom doesn't follow rules. So each week we're going to explore what it means to wake up your way so you can live a more peaceful, creative and inspired life no matter your circumstances. It's time to blaze your unique path to truth.
And if you like, I know Sydney Banks talks about the isness. It just brought me back to we human beings, we're not human provings. And I think somewhere in primary school, we get to learn a misunderstanding that we're not enough unless we're achieving. We're not enough unless we're doing. And then that kicks in the wanting.
Hey friend, so you were just listening to a snippet of today's awesome conversation with Denise Holland, a good friend of mine, and I've been really excited to get Denise on to come and talk about her new book, Play Freely. As many of you know, so much of what underpins this project, Rebel Spirituality, is about living life with more lightness, taking things less seriously, and just taking that literal and metaphorical breath. And this conversation felt like a real kind of inhale and exhale for me. So I'm very excited to put this out into the world. I don't have much else to say other than all of Denise's links will be in the show notes, and I will catch you on the flip side. See you there. My friends, I have a good friend of mine, Denise Holland, here to come and hang out and play. Literally come and play. So this is going to be fun. So welcome. How are you, mate?
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. No, I'm very well. And I'm really pleased to be here.
Yeah, me too. We've had the pleasure of hanging out. Golly, do you know, I think we've actually only known each other about a year. It feels longer than that, as these things often do. But I think we first met. Did we first meet at the Dare to Be You?
I think. Viva, no, maybe it was Dare to Be You, the
One
Being
of the
You,
wonderful...
Waking Up to What's Possible conference.
Yeah, nice. One of the wonderful conferences where we get to meet and be there in person. And I was really struck by how warm you are and just how kind of open and naturally curious you are, Denise. It was really, really struck me when I first met you. So it's lovely to get this opportunity to kind of get to ask you some questions about what you do and, what lights you up, basically.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So we have organised this now, especially because you have just released a book called Play Freely, which is very exciting. And I really want to dive into that because a lot of the people listening will know what it's like to take things a bit to be a bit heavy about things, and a lot more play in life would be kind of great, I think. And I know a lot of your angle is talking about it as, a coach for the Scottish netball team, serious, level professional sport. But I'm guessing that a huge amount of what you're exploring applies to day-to-day life as well, right? So this is going to be a great conversation for us to have, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think what inspired me to write the book, and to be honest, they say there's a book before the book, and there was two books before this book, actually. So a bit of a slow learner. And what really inspired me to call it Play Freely, when it came up, it was very much, Sam, about I could see athletes really getting caught up in the seriousness of the content of their thinking. So they would put so much pressure on themselves, and they'd have anxiety and stress, and it would play out in their body and make it really tight, and then they wouldn't be fluid anymore. Mm-hmm. And so what I saw was, I did that for years as a national athlete, and not so much as a national coach, but there was still times when I was really distracted. And the thing is, I didn't know. You see, I would have worked on the content of my thinking. So I would have really looked at mental skills work. I would have looked at NLP, positive affirmations, positive self-talk. So I would have worked on the content of my thinking, believing it was relevant. Mm-hmm. And when I came across this understanding of the mind, as uncovered by the late Sydney Banks, I realized something. I had a huge epiphany. And my epiphany was, I'm making it all up. And we can talk about that in a minute. But coming back to Play Freely, one of the outcomes, if you like, of my waking up to how life works is that I get to live and play freely. And so I help athletes and everybody that comes into my world to be able to just not take themselves so seriously. And it just took me so long 50 years of my life. All right, maybe from 0 to 7, it wasn't too bad, but from 7 years old, I really learned something and it was not the best thing. And that has sent me on this, needing to prove myself all the time. So that's how the title came about, Play Freely and not take ourselves quite so seriously anymore.
Oh, I love that. And I felt the relief as well when you said that just not taking things so seriously. I It's funny because for me, even with quote unquote spiritual stuff, I remember when I first came into that world, it was really light and I was like, oh wow, there's so much opportunity here. There's so much. I disidentified with so much of the stuff that I'd kind of been caught up in, that heavy thinking. And then over the course of the next, 10, 15, 20 years, it got heavier and heavier and heavier because I hadn't heard that thing that you heard, which was, yeah, it's not just about swimming through and trying to like work through all the content of our thinking. It's truly about coming back to the level beyond that and realizing that this is about the nature of experience, not the content, not the stuff that's already been created. That's done, right? It's already cooked. You go looking in there and you're swimming around in the known world. So I'm really touched by that. I love that. And I know, so tell me a little bit more about that moment for you, or how that unfolded. Because I know that we both, funnily enough, came across a book called Clarity by Jamie Smart many years ago, and it had a profound impact on both of us. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. I think you describe it as an awakening in the book, and I like that word. Like, what did you wake up from, and how did that happen for you?
Yeah, I will, Sam. I mean, many people have heard my story, but just I'll cut it really short. So,
Sure.
I was national coach for Scotland. I was 4.5 years into a 6 year inspiration, if you like. And so to remain totally professional, we mutually agreed to part company. So I found myself out of a role of national coach for Scotland, 18 months out of the Commonwealth Games, and that was very painful for me. And so, driving home, how I came across the book, I literally went into the service station and said, okay, give me something to keep me occupied for the next 18 months because this really hurts. And there was Jamie Smart's book, Clarity. And I didn't know him, I didn't know of him. And I said, okay, then, as if answering to a higher source. And in my world, maybe answering to God. So I said, okay. And then I read it, and something was starting to shift. And
Mhm.
he was insinuating, I would say, in that time that I didn't perhaps need to believe all my thinking. And I'm like, yeah, really?
Yeah.
And it started to shift, and that led me to Michael Neill's book, Inside Out Revolution. And
Uh-huh.
then about 6 weeks after coming home, I was literally looking in the mirror at just looking in the mirror, and I was like looking deep into my eyes. I don't know why. Like, have you ever done that? It's really odd looking
Yeah,
to
it's
see
pretty
who
trippy,
is
huh?
behind the eyes, who is and what is seeing. That was really odd. And I realized, oh my word, I am really making up my experience. And I don't have to make up an experience which doesn't serve me. Like, I really saw the nature of how experience works, that I'm only ever feeling my thinking and nothing else.
Mhm.
And I could get some proof of that because there would be times in that 6 weeks I wasn't thinking at all about the job and what I was going to do and the fear of the future. And there was times where I was. And it took my experience with it. So
Yeah.
whatever I was thinking, that was the experience I was having. And so I really saw like it was an awakening to, oh my word, this is how life works. I am a creator of my reality. And that's part of the nature of things. And so, wow, I could create anything. And then I realized I'd got this potential to create anything and think anything. And that just blew me away. Like, that just changed my life completely. That I had that much power over
Mhm.
my experience. And it was a complete game changer.
Yeah, I'm so struck by that. That that phrase. it doesn't have to be like that. I don't have to make it up like that or whatever, which really just holds infinite possibility. Like we can make it up like that. There's many other ways we can make it up too, and I'm struck because I took some notes from your book, Denise, and one thing that really struck me early on in the book is when you said, early in my coaching journey, I avoided spiritual language for fear of misunderstanding. Now I speak openly about the formless intelligence behind life, what some might call spirit, source, or the divine. This is not about religion, but about the essence behind all life, the deeper intelligence to which all spiritual traditions ultimately point. I was struck by that because it strikes me that it does take courage, actually, to start talking about this. Because I think maybe in the sporting world, you obviously have much more experience there than I. But yeah, maybe it can be a bit of, people aren't used to hearing that kind of thing. But the difference it makes, because to me, I don't know how it looks to you, Denise, but to me, the word spiritual is, it's really not even pointing to a lot of the forms that most people think about, be it incense or this or this. It's all these different things. It's about that infinite intelligence behind life, which animates our internally generated experience. And I think, I'm guessing we've both seen that in our own way, and it's changed our lives for the better. And I don't feel like I have much other choice other than share this with people now, which is kind of cool. And I can feel it. I can feel it in like what's happened now between me and you. I feel really connected to you. It's really lovely to even look in that direction with you. Yeah. Also, what makes it like, I'm really struck in this moment that we could kind of do the normal interview thing and kind of ask a few questions about the book. But I just want to hang out with you and just kind of see what makes sense and what shows up in this moment. Is there anything you're feeling really, really called to share that you'd love people to know?
I can share what's a bit more fresh.
Go for it.
For me, because as you know, I've been involved in this understanding for nearly 13 years. And of course, involved in life for over 60 years. I'm very grateful to have come across this 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And what happened was I was a self-help development kind of freak, if you like.
Junkie.
Junkie. What's the word? I don't know. Junkie. I don't know what's politically correct anymore.
Who knows?
I'm calling it about myself. So you know what? It doesn't matter. Well, I'd got a lot of books, right? So I was searching for a long, long time. And when I came across this understanding of the mind, that stopped. It just stopped. And what happened was it brought me back to this moment, and it brought me back to presence. And if you like, I know Sydney Banks talks about the isness. It just brought me back to we're human beings, we're not human provings. And I think somewhere in primary school, we get to learn a misunderstanding that we're not enough unless we're achieving. We're not enough unless we're doing. And then that kicks in the wanting. And even recently, with my understanding, and it's still very, very small compared to what is on offer, the infinite. I've just bought a house. And I didn't expect to buy a house. And it just happened. And it sent my mind into all sorts of places other than here.
Yeah.
And I went with it, but my chest started to pound. I started to get short of breath. I couldn't sleep. I had 4 hours sleep one night. And I'm like, what is going on, Denise? And then I knew enough, Sam, to go with it. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way I felt, but I knew enough not to resist it and not to try to change it. Because if I did, then that would, if you like, endorse it as a thing.
Yeah.
If I tried to change it. So I settled into a deeper knowing that, no, it's going to be there until it's not. And Denise, it's not happening right now.
Mm.
It just saves me again and again. Oh, you can come back to this moment. And in this moment, it's calm, it's peaceful, and I feel safe. And the stories, i.e., the illusions, therefore, I was living in for that 48 hours, were exactly that. And I was like, Denise, I don't want to live in an illusion. I don't want to live in an illusion. Why would I do that to myself? Especially, Sam, if it makes me feel rubbish.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but the draw to go, oh yeah, but what furniture you're going to buy, and and how you try to get everything in, try to control everything. Right. There's this real draw, this real pull to try to get it all sewn up.
Yeah.
Right. And to try to be there already. And buying my blinds, my curtains, my table. No, no, no. I'm like, that will unfold, Denise. And you are missing this moment, these moments, if you go into the illusion of the mind. And next day, my last words were, please help me to be present here. And then the next day I woke up and all of that stuff was gone. And I was like, oh, okay, let's just do what we have to do right now, right here. And it's brought me back. Like yesterday, I woke up and I was like, oh, I've got a Tuesday. Like, I've got a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was all right. And I've been living every minute of each day since I had that moment of remembering. I've been living every moment of the day. And I'll lose it again. It'll go. I'll get caught up. But right now I feel that, and now I've got a Wednesday, and it's lovely because I know that I don't have to scare myself
Yeah.
with the stories I could make up.
It's very cool. I think it's also very practical, and there's a lot of joy and freedom in it. It speaks to the psychological immune system, or that natural kind of recalibration. And you said something really fascinating, and I'm going to guess that this is key for athletes, but anybody, any of us really, is this distinction between, you mentioned the word fluid earlier. I often say, like, our experience is liquid if we allow it to be. Now that doesn't mean that we won't kind of have the odd moment where we get caught up in our stories or whatever, but not turning it into a thing, not kind of reifying it, making it real, turning it into concrete. I think there's so much power in that, because there's a way in which we're trained into doing that, it would seem to me. So for example, I've had a few nights where I haven't slept that great recently, and there's a part of me that, whoa, maybe you're an insomniac. Well, I mean, I could carry that identity if I want to, but I'm like, it'll shake on through. And I had a great night's sleep last night. But I lived a lot of my life turning fluid things into solid things innocently through the power of thought. And it's nice not to have to do that anymore. So I don't know if that strikes you, but I hear that clear as day in what you're sharing.
It's beautiful. I love that. So it's lovely, isn't it? Isn't it interesting, the different words we use that resonate with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I saw actually when you said that is a stream, like a stream that is meant to flow. It's meant to find where it's supposed to go, given all of the laws of nature and gravity.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to kind of, or let's say we can dam it up, right?
Yeah.
And we can go, no, 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 I want it to go this way, right? And that's akin to getting hold of a whole heap of thinking and turning that into a nice solid rock and something to worry about.
Yeah. Do you know what strikes me? This is so ironic, but there was a way I think when I first came across this understanding, I really fell into that fluid space. And and then I kind of completely innocently, but ironically, turned this understanding into something concrete and intellectual that was walking. And so for a while I was, I was living under the pressure of, the principles or whatever, which I have to kind of laugh about now. And it's great because it was all learning and it was just another thing for me to come to see, and then a deeper level of understanding on the other side of it. But yeah, I mean, we have that freedom of thought. Like we're always able to do that. We reserve the right to be able to do that, right? But it's nice to know that it's always one moment away, one thought away, one insight away, and we can be in that fluid state of yeah, being in alignment with life, I guess.
Mm.
God, I love that. I love this exploration as well. Like, is there anything else you've seen that's particularly new and fresh for you, both in terms of, this understanding, but also in the work that you're doing with people? I guess all the distinctions melt effectively, but what else is new and fresh for you, Denise? Because as you say, you've been exploring this for a while. So it's really nice to kind of tune in with this stuff that's like alive and kicking now, right?
Yeah. Let's see now. I'm working with a lot of youth clients right now, just so
Oh.
happens. And I was very full in the summer and kind of run out of time. So when the youth go back to school and university, we kind of, I still work with a few more during after school and on the weekends.
Mhm.
And I suppose one of the things that I'm seeing, I mean, this understanding isn't mainstream in schools, and I'm seeing that young people are coming to me with all sorts of beliefs and ideas of who they are, and in their minds how they're not enough unless they look like someone else, or they have as many friends as somebody else, or and it's quite deep. And I'm really surprised, Sam, that I coach as young as 8, but the people I've got at the moment are between 12 and 18. And so social media and the phones and their identity on the end of their arm, we
Yeah.
could get really caught up in a world which is trying to tell us that we're not enough, that actually you need to prove yourself or you have to look a certain way. And I'm seeing that young people are afraid to be themselves. And it's really quite sad. And I have that question, like how many people on the planet? And they kind of know, from school, eight points on a billion. And I'm like, yeah. And there's one of you.
Yeah.
There's one Matthew, there's one Claire, there's one Henry, there's one of you. And what I help young people to see is that they're okay just as they are. That there's one expression through that body and mind they've been gifted.
Yeah.
And if they spend that time trying to be someone else, it's a full-time job and it doesn't go anywhere. It's a trap
Yeah.
because ultimately, it seems that when we're on purpose, we're trying to come back to ourselves. Some point, it took me 50 years of searching. And I'm like, if we can help our young people to see that they're already whole,
Yeah.
they already have this potential to create their reality, to create therefore a world which is kind and caring, and that they can be resilient in a world which sometimes looks quite crazy. But the main thing is that they keep hold of who and what they are and their own expression rather than thwart their ideas and try and be someone else, because that's where the pain lies.
Yeah. Wow, they're so lucky to have you on their side, like that strikes me. Because it seems true that we get these two very real conflicting messages. So I was a teacher for many years, worked in secondary school and special educational needs. And it seems that all of us, we get these two messages. On the one hand, we're told you're not enough, but you can be if you do X, Y, Z. And on the other hand, we're told be special, stand out. But then the moment you're special and stand out, you're like, don't do that. So there's all this weird stuff going on inside. And, what I'd love to know how you see this, Denise, but for me, this being yourself, there's a podcast I put together recently called Being Yourself Isn't a Brand. Because I think one of the things that a lot of us are innocently trying to do is create this kind of shiny version of ourselves for the world to see. And when Sid Banks was saying, be yourself, be ordinary, most people hear that and they think, really mediocre? You want me to be a bit shit? It's like, no, no, just be you. Just be whoever you are before all of that stuff that you think you need to be, and show up as you and what comes through you in that space, which to me is so full of love and light. And like you said, I love how you put it, it's a full-time job. It's really, really hard work trying to prove yourself in this world in that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so struck by that. What do you, how, and I know there's a way, I'm going to guess there's a way that you're like, I don't even know how to answer that question, but how do you work with someone to wake them up to the truth that they're inherently whole?
Mm. I guess the main thing for me is I don't make it a thing. I simply connect with them. If I'm coming from a place of deep knowing that they're okay, and a deep knowing they have health inside of them, that seems to be a magnet. It seems to, as my mentor George Pransky would say, do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So that would be the main thing, is connection. Really be as one with them. So a lot of my clients are young people, but I don't see it that way. I kind of see it that, even when my coaching as a sports coach changed, because before I saw myself as the, if you like, the expert, and then the athlete was, somebody I would be helping to develop, but there would still be this kind of almost hierarchical relationship going on. And when I came across this understanding, it fused. It was like, oh no, there's no expert player type relationship here. We're just working with one intelligence, and we're working, if you like, we're exploring and getting curious about what's possible through our bodies and minds. So I had so much more respect then for what was coming through them, and I wanted to really really nurture that talent and see what we could work with. So I guess, yeah, for me, the oneness, the connection, is a couple of things. Firstly, like, how does your experience work? Well, the kids are really able for they're really able for the identifying when they lose a match.
Yeah.
I say to them, when you lose a match 1 minute after the game, how do you feel? Most kids are going to go, horrible. And I said, well, what about half an hour? And they go, ooh, well, actually, not so bad. And they give me all these feelings. And then I said, what about tea time? It's kind of going by tea time. Next day, it's gone altogether. And I said, well, what do you make of the fact that you still lost, and yet you've had all these experiences?
Yeah.
Could it be coming from something? Could it be coming from the loss, or could it be coming from thought in the moment? And they give this another thought. And of course, the penny drops. They see, oh, well, it's got to be thought in the moment, because yes, it's changing all the time. And if you asked a group of kids, each of those kids would have a different experience: 1 minute, 10 minutes, half an hour, tea time next day. Each of them would have a different experience, a different feeling state. Oh, more evidence that it's coming from thought and not the loss. And equally, if you won the match, that would be the same because I've done these experiments time
Yeah.
again. People would be disappointed that they didn't win by more, or they would be, happy they won, but disappointed they didn't get on the pitch. So there'd be a lot of different experiences going on.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not coming from the win, it's coming from your own thinking. So that would be one. And then the second part would be really looking at nature. Kids are really good at discovering, if you like, what's going on in nature that we are not doing.
Hmm.
Like they'll look at, birds migrating, they'll look at things growing in the garden. They'll look at, I help them to look at the body, their food digesting. They're not doing that. Their eyelids protecting their eyeballs from going dry, their nails growing, their immune system kicking in, all of those beautiful things to heal their bones when they break. And they get a sense of, oh yeah, that's what you're talking about. This intelligence that's making all that happen. And it just is.
Yeah.
And then they start to see, wow, look at all these human qualities you've got going for you, and you didn't have to earn them. Love, joy, resilience, compassion, inspiration, exploration, intuition, instinct, all of those beautiful qualities, gratitude. They seem to be innate to human life, and we don't have to win anything to get those qualities. They seem to be available when our minds get quiet.
Yeah. I'm so with you. There's so much to be seen from nature, and also the experience of, you mentioned it wasn't too bad between the ages of 0 and 7. It's funny for me. I can remember by the time I was one of my first memories at primary school was I was about, I would have been 4 or 5, crying at the front of the school assembly. I was getting a book. I was getting an award for good reading, but all I could think was, I don't know where my PE bag is. And I was like, for me, OCD was something that was kind of, that would be the label it would be given. Um,
Mm,
so there was a way in which some of my experience, I was holding on to stuff like quite young, quite
mm,
interestingly for me. But
mm,
that metaphor has been kind of helpful to me. It looks like kids, teenagers, and I, again, like, to me, humans, right? We all have varying degrees of holding on to thought. And for some of us, for some reason, we believe in less in our thinking than others naturally.
mm,
And that's fascinating to me. It's really, really fascinating. And I love what you're pointing people to, because to me, it's just this relief to know, oh, I can let go and life will take care of it. Like, I am life, and it's all being taken care of. Because I think a lot of people, no one's ever questioned me when I say to them, do you do better with less on your mind or more? Everybody always goes, oh yeah, I do way better with less on my mind. And then it's kind of like, so why do I innocently spend so much of my time with all this stuff that I'm clinging
mm.
to as if it's purchasing me something or getting me somewhere? And yeah, I think just those examples and things being pointed in that way, in a very real way, are very helpful for people. So, oh, I'm so struck by that. So something just popped into my head that I remember reading in your book, the idea of a spiritual warm up. And I'd like to explore that a bit, because it strikes me that there's a way, kind of what you were just talking to is kind of, well, I'm not going to speak for you. I'd just love to know what you mean by that, and how you think it could be helpful for anybody listening in to kind of explore that.
Yeah. Well, probably our audience is already warmed up because
Yeah.
that's why they're here. But I guess the reason I was inspired to put that in there, of course, the metaphor of a warm up before we go into performance, but to be open to hearing anything needs
Mm.
a little adjustment. All right. So when you read a book, well, anything. I remember going to a conference in Scotland at Sports Scotland, and then we would have all sorts of different subjects, and you would be expected to filter what was relevant to you.
Hmm.
And that's how we work. We go, oh yeah, that's no good. Yeah, oh actually that's not, oh, I could put that into my training. Or yeah, no, don't agree with that. So we would be constantly filtering information.
Yeah.
And this book to get the best out of it, play freely, just in case
I
we
was going to say, show us, and
go,
we're
go
gonna talk
video.
about it.
Yeah, go video. This book's not that sort of book. In fact, Sydney Banks said, don't listen to my words. I've said something similar at the front, in as much as see what resonates with you. And it's got key takeaways but they're not conceptual takeaways. They're to get some intrigue and to see what resonates in terms of a feeling at the end of each chapter. But the warm-up chapter is really about settling down so that you can read Play Freely from an open mind, and to maybe just identify some habits of thought, some perspectives that seem a little bit solid, and just to say, okay, you can have them back, but just set them aside for the duration you're reading. And then if you want them back, fine, go and have them back. But just to bring into question, if you like, where we would normally read from. So the warm up is to get yourself in a state of preparation, a state of readiness, as you would for athletic performance. But here it's for a state of readiness for insight. Because insights are more likely to happen when we've already set aside our concrete beliefs.
Oh, yeah. It's so fresh and alive for me. I literally dropped a Substack yesterday, the title of which was The Relief of Not Needing to Be Right All the Time. And, one point I even say in there, does nature need beliefs? Does nature need to be right? So it's funny that would come up today. But the relief of being in that kind of, I don't even know what the right words are for this, Denise, state of consciousness or way of relating to life or whatever. I mean, for me, it's been a real game changer, because I think for a lot of people, they don't realize this sort of tension that they're kind of holding as they go around life. And one of the things I say is, the relief of not relating to others and life as a kind of a debating partner, where you're like, how to prove yourself that you're right all the time, to just be open for something new. And the fact that being willing to be wrong about everything takes you so much more closer to the truth, and it gives you a deeper ground to stand on, because the fact of the matter is life is liquid. It's formless. It's this fountain of just ever-changing beauty that's kind of pouring through us in every moment, right? So I think we feel that in our heart. We kind of know that. So I love that. I love that as I say, I haven't had that much of a chance to dive into the book, and it's already been pure gold, So I'm super, super excited for so many of our listeners to dive in. And I would implore anybody, whether you relate to yourself as a sports person, quote unquote, or not, to read it, because it's about play. It's about letting go of those ideas that we think we had. And I'm struck. So me and my brother used to do a lot of sport. I used to do a lot of athletics. And I was pretty good. I was not at kind of a national level or anything, but we do a lot of athletics meets and this kind of thing. And there was a few times where on track for the 100 meters, things like that, I'd suddenly just have a day and I'd break my personal best by loads. And I'd be like, where did that come from? Mm-hmm. And I knew even then it was like lack of interference. It was just, and it was so strange for me to be able to observe these days where I was living in that flow, playing freely. And I'd be like, wow, look at this. It's like I'm not even kind of here. It's just life is playing right now. And then there'd be other days where I'd be so kind of in my head. Funnily enough, that would often happen the next week, where I'd go, I need to be as good as last week. And then I'd be all in my head. I see you vigorously nodding, because I'm sure it's a pattern. But yeah, to me, what you're speaking to are like the deeper truths for all of us. Like, how do you feel about the metaphor of life being a game? Is that something that you resonate with, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, it does seem to me to be a bit of a game. I don't want to get too deep and esoteric. I want to stay really practical here. But I do see that we get to live in these bodies and minds for this period of time. And, to wake up to the truth of how that works, seems completely gold. Like that's a huge gift.
Yeah.
And we get to play in the world. We get to play in the world, and it doesn't always go the way we want it. And I think that's another key aspect of my work is, okay, so how are you going to navigate the world when things don't go the way you want it? And that's very much a whole chapter in the book. Because if, especially with young people, if they have like a map, a landscape of how life works, then they're already set.
Yeah.
They're already set for freedom of mind as they go through life. And it doesn't mean that it makes them immune to life circumstance, not at all, but it helps them to tap into these innate qualities to be able to receive guidance and to be able to come up with solutions from a deeper part of themselves rather than what it is they think they should be doing or could be doing from the surface.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm very much loving and playing with the time I've got left in this physical body and grateful for every single moment of it.
Oh, me too. Me too. Especially for conversations like this. Yeah, it's such a privilege. It's so funny because so many of the most difficult and darkest moments of my life over the course of the last 20 years, I reflect on them now and I see, wow, that was such a beautiful space of transformation. It was just what the doctor ordered, even though I would never have ordered it. It's almost like there really is a wisdom running through life, you know. I love that so much. And I'm really, I'm struck by any younger person, any person who comes to see who they are before and beyond all of the ideas that they have of themselves, before and beyond any of the kind of quote unquote successes, failures, wins, and losses of life. It really does change that game. I remember having a beautiful conversation with our mutual friend Debs recently, and she said, playing life from that space is very, very different, and playing life from the way that a lot of people innocently are, which is thinking that they're this isolated kind of
Yeah.
thing that's separate from the universe, it's pretty scary from time to time. And am I right in saying there's a phrase in sport that sports people die twice, in the sense that
Mm.
anybody who's fully identified without the wins and the accolades, they have to go through that, just
Yeah.
that kind of shock of the end of their professional career.
Yeah.
If you're
There is that.
gifting people that freedom from that seems very profound and deep work to me,
Yeah.
Denise.
I use an example of that in my book, because people do often say that they die twice because
Mm,
their identity is so wrapped up
yeah.
in their successes in the role. And I get that. But what we can do is we can really look at, okay, well, let's see what got you to be successful. It doesn't die with the role. It's an infinite potential. So you can, whatever got you there is going to continue. It can get you into retirement in a really beautiful way.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, okay, let's just cross that spiritual bridge of understanding, and then there is no end. There is continuation of, and even though a role comes to an end, the that what which created it is infinite possibility, infinite potential.
Cool, huh? Isn't it cool?
Yeah,
What a thing to stumble across.
yeah.
So, somehow we have been talking for, golly, 45 minutes. So, I want to make sure that we've got some room. So, two things really. I want to give you space to kind of tell people about the book, where they can find it, and the work that you do, and all that kind of stuff for anyone who wants to reach out or any of that good stuff. But I want to check in and say, is there anything else that you really want to kind of share while we're here?
I think we've had a beautiful conversation, but I just want to pick up what's coming to me is I want to pick up the idea of separateness,
Hmm.
because that was huge for me when I realized, oh, Denise, you're not separate from the intelligence. I remember Linda Pransky, we were having one of my sessions, and this is in the book actually. And, she said, oh, I see, Denise, you think you're in a special boat. Well, I was so not happy with this, what she said to me. And I'm like, what does she mean? I think mean a special boat. Anyway, that night it landed. Oh, I think that I'm the only one that, no, I think that I need to prove myself more than others need to prove themselves. So this is big for me, and it might not be so big for others. So how are they ever going to understand it? And yeah, it was a real moment of realization. And I went from being very cross with her to being very grateful for her directness. And, I laughed and cried and had that release. And as you say, Sam, I let go of anything that I felt was not serving me in
Yeah.
terms of, oh, you're not separate from this intelligence. You are a drop in the ocean. That metaphor, it's beautiful. You're a wave of the ocean. You can't be separate from it. And I started to look at life that way. And then I started to see, oh, you can actively and consciously tap into this intelligence that we are, and it will guide you. It will be there if you listen to the whispers of the life force, whispers of the source, the intelligence, God, whatever word works for you. It's an active, conscious, living, alive, I want to say entity, but it's an isness
Yeah.
that is alive, and it's geared and designed for life. And so knowing that that's what I am, there it makes no sense for me to think it's all on me. Life is not all on us. We are part of a deeper intelligence, and it has our back. I know it's been said by many 3P people before, but it for me it feels really true.
Yeah. Me too. And it opens up a very, very different way of moving through life, which is a lot more fun with a lot more room for play. So yeah, yeah, I get that. Oh, I want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart for coming and having just a lovely conversation, Denise. It's always a pleasure to hang out, but it's really, really lovely to get just some extended one-on-one time to hang out and explore stuff
Yeah,
together.
really love it.
Oh, so please do, right. So tell us about the book, where to find it, where to get
Oh,
it, all that
oh my
all that
goodness.
good stuff.
Okay. So my new book, it's actually published by Balboa Press Publications. So
Cool.
you can go on there, or very, very easily you can go on Amazon. I know some people don't like Amazon, so you
Mhm.
do have a choice. And yeah, so it's on both of those. My new website is up and running, and that is www.playfreely.co.uk.
Very
And
good.
my new email now is up and running. So please be one of the first to email me on denise@playfreely.co.uk. And
Oh,
I've only literally set that email up yesterday. So I'm so super excited to get some nice emails. If you've heard anything, then drop us a line. But here's the thing, if you are listening to this, I have a special offer. There is a free digital download, and you can just email me, and then I will send you a coupon, and you can get the free digital download from Balboa Press Publications direct.
well, how's that for an offer? That's amazing. Oh, very, very cool. Well, I would encourage people to do that. I'm absolutely loving it, and I cannot wait to finish reading it. And I have the feeling, I don't want to speak for you, but I have the feeling that this will be the first of many conversations over the years. So, both here and in the other projects that I run, I
Yeah.
look forward to talking to you, Denise, and to reading the rest of the book and all that stuff. Huh?
Thank you, Sam, for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Awesome. Right. See you soon.